Describe your perfect date. Huh, that's a tough one. I'd have to say April 25th. It's not too hot, not too cold. All you need is a light jacket. Today on the Manspace. Welcome to the Manspace podcast. We're your hosts, Doctors Matt Brown and Rob Porter, and clinical therapist Mike Porter. Welcome, Spacemen, to a heart-filled episode of We're Prepping You. Today, you're going to hear this episode 1 week before Valentine's Day. So you have you got 1 week to do everything we say, and you'll have the most amazing Valentine's Day of your life.
The perfect date quote.
What's
it
you don't
from?
know where it's from? You can't remember?
Is it from Airplane?
No.
Your voice that you're doing is Julie Haggerty. Like that.
There's a similar tone in their the way they deliver.
Who is it?
I don't know who the woman is.
What's
It's
movie?
Miss Congeniality. It's when she's being interviewed for
Right.
her,
the redhead.
Yeah. The one who's like, she's like crying. She's got her crown on. It's like everything's falling down around her, and she's like, she has a similar like.
Yeah,
she
yourself.
does have a
similar. A very Julie Haggerty delivery.
I don't think I would have known that woman's name. I just know her as Airplane / Just Friends / a couple other things.
I'm a dork though, so.
This is a quote that I always love from Airplane. It's when the old woman is talking to, is it Ted Stryker?
Yeah.
And he's describing his this cute little woman on the plane and this and supple pouting breasts. Becky and I laughed so hard. It's like, what does that mean? Supple pouting breasts.
Supple pouting breasts. It means they're supple, but they hang down a little bit.
They pout. They're like pouting. Oh, hey, Spaceman, guess who's not here? It's Matt.
It's a sad reason he's not here, though.
That's true. It is sad.
This isn't like normal when he's like on a cool vacation or something.
I don't think he does that very often, but yes.
Probably not. But
he is unfortunately putting his cat down. He has one cat that I can't remember. It's something like, he was describing it to me last time, and I was like, oh, that's not good. He said that the other cat he got that they thought was female, and later he's like, are those testicles? It turns out it was a male.
That's right.
And it was always like dominating his cat that they're having to put down. Yeah. So he wanted to be here, but he can't. And so we'll just assume, because Matt is like this, that he probably has a perfect Valentine's Day planned. You know who doesn't have a perfect Valentine's Day planned?
You.
This guy.
So I'm curious, because I think part of my idea of what makes a perfect Valentine's Day will depend a lot on the answer to the question. Like, how do you and Becky view Valentine's Day? Because your anniversary is like a week before.
Well, here's what's funny. I was thinking about this, and I've covered this. I've talked about this with various people. I even wrote a blog on it once, Valentine's Day. And I have also, I swear, like last year or the year before, we talked about this a little bit, maybe on one of these episodes around Valentine's Day. And I did consider waiting until next week to do this, but then I thought, then it's coming out on Valentine's Day and it'll be too late. The ironic part is I don't actually think we're going to say a huge amount of really valuable, here's some tips. I do have some tips in mind, but they're not along the lines of like, so let's, because this actually came up for me because yesterday, and right now, because I generally see people once every 2 weeks, I'm telling people like, so I'll see you on Valentine's Day. And previously, so far it won't happen this year because everyone's already, actually, who knows what will happen the day of. But previously it was like, I would tell people, okay, so the next time we'll meet will be, on February 14th. And they'll be like, oh, hey, that's Valentine's Day. I'm like, yeah. I was like, what more perfect way to spend Valentine's than to go to couples therapy? We'll just say all the feel good things, and then you guys can go and have an amazing night together. And usually people are like, we're going to skip that week.
Yeah. That's not usually how this turns out.
Yeah. They don't want the possibility. Like of what can happen sometimes where it's like, well, that was a rough session. And
Mhm.
now it's like, well, I guess let's go to dinner.
Yeah.
Huh.
Let's go and be romantic.
Like I had a session this morning where basically I had to say, hey, I want you guys to go get in your cars. I don't want you to talk in between, and I don't want you to talk at the cars. Just get in your cars and go off and think about things for a second. And then I want you to have a conversation in the next couple of days. And I think if I did that for Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
that can't be good. So back to your question. This is because when I said something about, I'll see you guys on Valentine's Day. Here's a side note, man. I keep thinking about this meandering thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to meander for a second because I keep thinking about the Kelsey brothers. I keep getting these
Yeah.
clips of their podcast, and they're talking about Travis. Jason's talking about how he loves Coke
Mm.
and loves a fountain Coke in particular, and then they start talking. Then Travis Kelsey starts talking about he loves to go to Joe's Barbecue in Kansas City and he gets a half slab and fries and a wild cherry Pepsi,
It's
and I
okay.
was like, oh yeah, that's my assumption I was like, yeah, it's probably not very good. But admittedly, in Texas, we tend to be snobs about our barbecue. Although I saw this thing, it was these. One day I'll answer your question, Mike. It was these people from New Zealand eating Texas barbecue. It was
Mm-hmm.
funny. They're like every time they took a bite, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I think this is how God intended sausage to taste. Why aren't we all doing this?"
Well,
And it was
that's
good.
Matt. Were you there when Matt last week was telling me about he met a guy recently who moved from Kansas City to Houston?
No,
And when Matt told him kind of things I had said about Kansas City
did you just
about
mute
Kansas
yourself?
maybe about Kansas City barbecue, he was like deeply offended. And, but I like we went to Joe's and it was good, and I love that they like all of them here seem to serve fries with their
I do
barbecue,
love that. Yeah,
which that is not, you can't find that in
I don't
Texas
want
really.
potato salad. I don't care about
No.
that. I can make that
Yeah.
myself.
Right. Um and the like I had it's called the Z-Man, and it's sliced brisket with provolone and 2 onion rings on it, and then their barbecue sauce.
Mm-hmm.
The brisket was really tender. I think I would have preferred shredded, not sliced.
Yeah,
Um,
I get that.
and it needed way more sauce.
Like it
Um,
didn't have a good flavor to it.
no, just meaning like a sandwich to me. Like I can eat brisket without sauce. Like I can eat any barbecue without sauce. In fact, to me, if I need sauce for barbecue, it's not good
Yeah,
barbecue.
right.
Like I should be able to eat just the meat because I'm trying to get the smoky flavor. That's the whole point. Um, but on a sandwich, no, a sandwich shouldn't be dry. Like a sandwich needs something on it. And they had sauce on it, but like such a small amount, like it soaked entirely into the bun. I'm like, is there actually sauce on this thing? I ended up putting more on, but I thought, no, it needs like it should be dripping sauce
It's funny
when you
because
put it in front
actually,
of me.
I don't think I've ever actually had a brisket sandwich. I always just want to eat the meat.
Well, you've had the Bob or the
That's true, but it's
41.
pork. It's pork.
The 41 is pork and whatever you want to mix with it. I always mix brisket.
I always put pork on pork, and
Really?
so yeah.
Why not mix in brisket? It's really good.
Maybe I did. I don't know, but that even still, I feel like yeah, but that's with pork. It's not just a brisket sandwich.
That's true.
I don't know. In Alabama, and in all they serve is pork. It's only ever pork,
Yeah.
and it's it's very often just pulled pork sandwiches
Yeah.
because there's not a lot else you do with. Well,
No.
I'm sure there is.
Well, you can
Most of
slice
the time,
it,
it's just
but
pulled pork.
yeah,
By the time you've smoked it long enough, you don't really
it
slice it
won't
very well. It just
slice.
falls
Yeah.
apart. Right.
Yeah. I do have to say, because I've been meaning to tell you this forever. They don't sell salsa verde Doritos here.
Oh yeah,
Like
they
nowhere.
they barely do here.
Right. But I can't find them in a gas station. I can't find them in any grocery store. They do
I
not
think
sell
it's
them here.
interesting. Is Kansas City a Pepsi town?
No.
Oh,
No,
well, you sent us that thing from Wahlburgers. It was all Pepsi.
yeah, but to me that just means that the Wahlbergs are Pepsi people,
Those crazy Bostonites.
right? Weirdos. Um,
They are from Boston, right?
I think so. Well, I don't know if it's Boston proper, but that
Sure,
area.
Massachusetts. Yeah,
Yeah.
Boston Metro. Yeah.
No, I don't know. I feel like I can get Coke Zero on tap more places here than I ever could in Texas.
Okay, fine. All right. So, I mean, one day I'll
Anyway.
find out because one day I'll come up. But
Mm-hmm.
your question. I was scheduled with guys on the 14th, and they're like, I was like, it's Valentine's Day. And he goes, I don't care about Valentine's Day. I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, kind of rolls her eyes. And he's like, that's such just a commercialized holiday. It's all just to get me to spend a bunch of money. And
As opposed to, say, Christmas, that is not commercialized.
or really, frankly, any holiday. Do we have a holiday that is
Right.
not commercialized except for maybe
St.
Thanksgiving?
Patty's. No, because Thanksgiving, we've gone ahead and turned it. There's no Thanksgiving anymore. It's Black Friday. That's the holiday everyone celebrates.
I mean, I don't, but
I
some
don't
of us
either, but
believe in turkey. Just kidding. I don't. I don't
you
like turkey.
don't.
So, I mean, smoked turkey is good. But I remember also, and this in graduate school, I'm going to have to check my phone in a second. I didn't plug it in. I hope it doesn't die on me. In graduate school, I had a friend whose last name is Friend.
Shut up,
And
really?
yeah, and he and his wife. I wonder if he listens to our podcast. I doubt it. We've lost contact a long time ago, and not enough men listen. But he and his wife, she would post on Facebook, like, we don't celebrate Valentine's Day in our house because every day is Valentine's Day. We express love and buy each other gifts like this all the time. So we're not doing it just for Valentine's Day. Now, ironically, they ended up getting divorced. But
Shut up. So at some
I,
point
sh-
they stopped doing those things.
I guess, or it's kind of the thing that, like, sometimes when people say that, I feel like I wonder, for like men, for example, it feels like, is this like there's no way to do this without feeling pressured, or like I'm just doing this, it can't feel natural, so I don't want to do it, so I'm doing this open rebellion, like it's not me, it's the holiday. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I love going to going to the store on Valentine's Day or around there to watch all these dudes who are at the grocery store that look like they don't ever go to the grocery store, and they're buying flowers and something
Yeah.
else. It's my favorite. And because you asked, yes, my anniversary is February 5th. Yours is February 19th.
Yeah.
So both of us, it's like, for me, it's like, yeah, I just celebrated this last
Yeah.
week. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need to celebrate it again. So it turned into, for us, I think we always get Chinese food, because when we came home from our honeymoon, the next day was Valentine's Day. And I was like, I want Chinese food. So we went and got PF Chang's. But now it's like, it feels like I think I think recently we've gotten like store, like frozen Chinese food and just made it in our house. Although
Picking
now
up
I
the
have
the innovation.
yeah, exactly. Thanks, Joe. Although now I have a really good cashew chicken recipe. I'll probably just make that. It's really good. I mean, this guy. All right. So, and we do it with our kids. So in short, actually, I I can say Valentine's Day isn't that significant to me. However, I could see that if my anniversary was not right before it, it probably would be more significant. And I would probably be the dude in the store buying flowers for my wife, just like every other dude. Is like, what is it? Is it different for you? Do you feel like I double down? I do Valentine's Day as a precursor to my anniversary.
No. I will say I do. I've discovered in the last 5 to 6 years, I guess. I really actually enjoy holidays. I
Uh-huh.
like doing things for holidays. It's fun to me.
Yeah.
Um, Porters in general are big atmosphere people.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so I like to do things that, create kind of an atmosphere, and holidays are good excuses to do those things. And so Valentine's is a good excuse to, um, do romantic things, and no one really rolls their eyes at it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, no, we typically don't put a ton of effort into Valentine's just because our anniversary is 5 days later,
Right.
and we would rather celebrate that. Like,
Can't do
that
both.
usually,
Just kidding.
it's, well, when I was teaching and we had no money, we couldn't do both.
We'll get into that.
Well, and that was part of it, right? Like part of why I think Valentine's became a thing for me is I worked um, as a teacher. I worked predominantly with women, and very quickly I started realizing I was going to get like peppered with questions on February 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and even February 14th. Hey, what are you doing for your wife? Hey, so
Right.
did your wife like it?
Right.
Hey, so, and it became this weird pressure that I had to be able to say something. And so there was a stretch before I kind of realized like, oh no, I actually like doing this. Like I actually think it's fun. But there was a stretch where there was so much pressure to have something that I could say, yeah, I did this. Um, that Jenner, like I would ask her like, hey, should we do this? She'd be like, no, I don't really care. Like it's just Valentine's Day. It's not a big deal. Like our anniversary is in 5 days. But as she started seeing the amount of stress that I would be under knowing I'm going to get all these questions, she started like, okay, well, let's find something to do so that you can go tell people things.
See, but that's what I think when I get these people like Valentine's Day is dumb. I feel like, oh, you've disappointed somebody or felt
Yeah,
like you failed or have been judged. And so now you have this reaction to a holiday that's like, what is, you don't have to celebrate it by spending a bunch of money.
right,
Like, so if that's your argument that it's too commercial, well, then don't be commercial about it.
right.
But to me, it means you've been burned. And so
Mm-hmm.
now you hate this holiday, but you're taking the kind of, uh, bleh,
The
superior view of
yeah,
it. Like the,
the moral.
yeah, the moral high
I'm
ground.
more yeah, I'm morally opposed to
Yeah. This is it's not anti Valentine's Day and anti love. It's anti capitalism
yeah.
and greed. You know, it's like, oh, huh,
Well, or
okay.
even the thing that your friend's wife wrote, right?
Right.
We do this every day. I think A, no, you don't,
Right.
and B, um, that feels like I don't want to deal with the grief of telling people I don't do it. So I say this.
Yeah. And even on the, because I will say it does seem to be predominantly the expectation seems to be the male will do something romantic for the female
Yeah,
inside of that couple dynamic. It is not usually we're both doing something romantic for the other person. It's that I will woo you. And so for a female, now that I am positive there are relationships where that is not the case and it's flipped. But for females, it's maybe not so much like how did you do, but how did your husband do?
what did your husband?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and if or your partner, and if he didn't do a good job, then he must not love you very much. And sorry, you got a bum partner. Or
yeah,
and so it's like, so the easiest thing to do instead of trying to explain like, well, no, it was really thoughtful that he got me this frying pan. You know, like instead of that, it's easier to say we don't celebrate. We don't believe in that.
yeah,
It's like you don't believe in having a day that sure you might say to each other all the time, "Hey, I love you a lot," but this is the day when we really emphasize it.
yeah,
You know, like it's an excuse to do why I mean, why not? It's an excuse to do something cool. Why not do it? So I think those are interesting reactions that I can see in well, I've never actually had strong reactions to Valentine's Day. Um, I have been lucky enough that my wife is fairly low maintenance when it comes to like if
because she's not a big gift person, right?
she's not a big gift person, and if I were to say, do you want to go to dinner she'd be like, on Valentine's Day? No.
Right.
Like she'd be like, let's get something that comes to the house. I don't want to go out.
Yeah.
And admittedly, I feel like to me, for me personally, it would not sound romantic to say, let's go to a crowded restaurant and have dinner with a bunch
Right.
of other people who are trying to have dinner. And frankly, with a lot of people that I know, for a lot of dudes, it's like, let's see if I can get these cards played right so I can have
Right.
sex tonight.
So I'm getting sex tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the nights of the year that men consider a guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
So you better play it out right, or it's not going to be a guarantee. But Spacemen, for those of you struggling, maybe feeling like, hey, look, I love Valentine's Day, or maybe you feel like I don't really like Valentine's Day, but my wife loves it and I have to do this or I'm going to be in trouble. We have all the answers for you in terms of the perfect things to do on Valentine's Day. I'm totally lying. Let's go to the YouTube. Let's go to
Well,
the Google and see what Google tells us.
so I Googled this yesterday after you kind of
Oh,
suggested this as a topic.
perspectives. Go ahead.
Um, I Googled perfect Valentine's Day. That
I
was
have
it.
Valentine's Day date ideas.
Yeah. No, I just did perfect Valentine's Day. And I took um the like I have 6 results.
Uh-huh.
So I haven't looked all the way through all of them, and you're about to find out why. Here's 4 of my results.
Mm-hmm.
51 best things, 51 romantic things to do on Valentine's Day that you'll never forget.
Oh,
51.
51.
25 romantic and affordable Valentine's Day gifts, which those articles are always hilarious to me because affordable is such a subjective thing.
Uh-huh.
And some of the stuff on there, I'm like, that's not affordable. Like that's like $200 for a night. What are you talking about? Affordable? You want me to book tickets for a show?
Did I,
Like that's not going to be cheap, you morons. We're not talking about a movie.
did I did I tell you that I read an article about those kinds of articles?
No.
That was basically like these are things designed just to kind of hack the Google algorithm so people will come to their web page.
Well, that's funny.
And they're like they said they had some that this person asked to remain anonymous in their interview that writes blogs for a legal company, a law firm,
Mm-hmm.
but is not a lawyer, but is giving legal advice. They just write well. But the attorneys don't care. They just want people on their website.
Yeah.
So this, whenever, because it's funny, if you type this in, you'll get like 51 or 39, and you'll
Yeah.
actually find sometimes it's word for word what somebody else said, because
I
they
don't think I've
actually
ever
just
noticed
found,
that.
you'll just find that it's the algorithm thing that Google, they found a
Right.
way to, that what's Google's looking for. So anyway, continue.
So I also found 35 unique Valentine's date ideas that go way beyond dinner and a movie.
Oh,
And the last one, 79 Valentine's Day ideas for any relationship stage.
wow.
Yeah. So those ones I thought, like to me, that felt a little bit like the whole when we did the New Year's resolutions episode.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And we just found all of these like 51 different resolutions that you could make. And my thought, like, as I'm sitting here looking at all these and reading these things, I think, yeah, some of these are great. But I was thinking about Jenna, and I thought, no, she's not going to want to do some of these. Like, she
Right.
would think they were dumb.
Right. Well,
And,
this is, go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, so for me, I think, like,
Wait. You muted yourself, I think. I don't know. All of a
I
sudden you just
did, I
went
muted myself.
Okay.
I gotta like
You
flip
said
this
for
thing
all
the
of
other
these,
way or something.
you said for all of these things, and then you went blank.
Um,
You don't remember.
no, I do. I think for all these things, I think you need to like before you do any of this stuff, you need to have like a legitimate conversation with your spouse about, look, what is this day for you,
Yeah.
right?
Things would you like to see, or what would you
Yeah,
enjoy?
like how important is it, right? Like I'm with you. I think Valentine's Day may or could possibly have taken on a different perspective if my anniversary wasn't 5 days later.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm never going to do like, almost on each one of those bigger lists was like book a getaway for a night. And I thought, yeah, I'm never going to do that on Valentine's Day. One, because hotels are way more expensive on Valentine's Day.
Right.
But also because my anniversary is 5 days later. So I would rather do, a couple of nights away for my anniversary than one night for Valentine's. But again, having those conversations and knowing, right? And like, if you're waiting to around Valentine's Day to have that conversation, it's less likely going to be sincere, I think.
Sure.
Because
It can sound like, just tell me what I have to do to make sure you're not
Yep.
disappointed on Valentine's Day.
Well, and the flip side, right? Like, especially if you're early in a relationship, I'm going to try to gauge what I think you want me to say and give that answer.
Yeah.
Where if your tone when you broach the question is, well, I think Valentine's Day is stupid, but what do you think? Yeah, I'm probably not confident enough or secure enough in the relationship to say, oh, I actually super love it. And I love the idea of like spending one day focusing, like really focusing on our love and the romance of our relationship and all of that stuff. Because you just said it was stupid.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of dumb.
Yeah,
And
I
so
agree. Stupid.
yeah. So having that conversation, seriously, having that
Dude.
conversation, shut up. I gotta have it apparently flipped the other way. I don't know. I've
Well,
never
I
had this
also
kind of
feel like
issue
just
with it.
grab the bottom or something.
I
You don't have to
am. I got fat hands. Shut up.
sausage hands.
But I think having that conversation, right, just before you get to the moment, so that you kind of know, like, this is what it is. Because it may not be that for your spouse, but if it's a big deal to you, sure, then I'll make sure
Right.
it's a good day for you.
Well, and I think even sometimes it can happen afterwards. Like if you have a Valentine's Day and one partner seems to be upset by it, to say,
Yeah.
why? What happened?
Right.
Like, well, I was hoping for this. It's like, oh, I didn't know you wanted that. Okay, we can do that. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't, I think it's a mistake to think Valentine's Day is one direction, unidirectional. It should be, we're both doing things just because we're trying to show each other how we care about each other. When I searched it, I just kind of take some time. I like to see what Google compiles for you. And they have various lists. They have for couples, for him, for her, for high school. I'm going to read you some of the for him ideas because some of these make me laugh, and I feel like, but actually some of them I feel like, oh, I can appreciate that, and here's why. So I will say, I don't know how many dudes would be excited by this. The one that I'm thinking of specifically is it says swap romantic playlists.
Yeah.
I don't know if a dude's like, that's just what I wanted.
I've met a couple of dudes where they do that kind of thing. Like they'll really kind of, like I knew a guy who kind of curated, like, these are all these songs that are meaningful to me in the, sphere of our relationship.
Uh-huh.
And I thought,
Of course,
yeah, he would do it. Like that guy
yeah.
would do it.
Well, and that's why there's things that say 89 things or whatever it is, because it's
Right.
like,
It's
who
trying
knows
to
what's
hit
going to,
everybody.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing I like about this, like there's some things here where I'm like, no, no, no. But some of them, and it's funny about what's different for dudes. Like there are things on this stuff for men that it's like fondue night that I'm like, maybe. I don't know a lot of dudes who are super excited about fondue.
Naked fondue night.
Something's gonna get burned. Like breakfast in bed is on all the lists, which I feel like, okay, I don't.
That works for one person.
Yeah, but
One person gets breakfast in bed, the other doesn't.
I will say though that I think the mistake we make sometimes about romance is feeling like you feel romance when someone does it for you, instead of like, I feel romance by doing it.
Yeah.
Like if I make my wife breakfast in bed, I feel romantic. It makes me feel romantic. Like, hey, look what we're doing, for like, look at this effort I put in. But it's got things like build something together. This one I actually kind of like, recreate your first date.
I saw that one.
I like that. It has take a hike. I would like that. It says play games or game night. I guess maybe that's a video game night. I don't know. It also has karaoke. But there's a couple on here that I think, oh, I like that because it's something slightly different. One is work out together. And I think, oh, that's an interesting thing to say. If you don't do this normally, I think that would be romantic to say, hey, I want to go do this with you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go work out together. But the other one, which I was like, oh, that's cool, is it says volunteer together. And I thought, oh, that's an interesting thing that I don't think very many people would think about when it comes to Valentine's Day. Like, let's go do something that is meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just, we went out to dinner at Trulux, or, like, it feels like, what's the difference for him or for boyfriend? Sorry. Oh, hold a chocolate tasting. What does that mean? Craft something together, game night, shopping. Yeah, I'm right. So look at me stereotyping.
Are we shopping at Best Buy?
Nerd. So this is the reason why I, a lot of times stuff like this, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I can agree with the idea of, it says spa night or couples massage. I'm like, geez, I'm going to be dropping like $400, $500. But other things on here, like bake treats, like making something together, I feel like, hey, yeah, just spend time together. I think the mistake that we make is think in order to be romantic, and maybe this is because this is why Spacemen, we're giving you this 1 week in advance, is because it gives you time to think, well, what would be meaningful? Flowers are nice, and some people love flowers, and so great, go get some. But it's less about what did you get, or even sometimes where did you go, or especially about how much money did you spend. I do not think you need to spend money. I mean, couples do this. When I talk to couples just about going on dates, if I say I need you guys to go on some dates, they'll be like, well, money's kind of tight. And sometimes I'll say, I get that. So skip a session with me and make that your date. That's a nice date, $200.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just said my fee online. Now everyone knows.
Awkward.
Until I raise it. Now people who see me who are listening are like, raise it?
Again?
When are you raising it, Rob? Don't worry.
Maybe we'll be done by then. I think we'll be done by then.
Yeah, hurry up, people. So, I'll tell them all the time, like, you guys, date night doesn't have to be going out. Sometimes date night is like, we hung out in our, like we hung out and played games. Like, why do you have to go somewhere?
That's some of our favorite date nights, Jenner and I. There was a stretch when we were in Provo, and she was working at like American Express or something, but she would work 5 to 9 or something like that. And like I was working a job, but like crap pay, and we just had no money, but we knew we still needed to be going on dates. And so we said, okay, date night needs to be 2 things. It needs to be at home because we couldn't afford a babysitter, and it has to generally be free. Every once in a while, we'd give ourselves like $10 that we could spend on it. I mean, we did some, if I, to say them out loud, like we did one, we made like dolls out of paper, construction paper.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't even remember why, but it was hilarious. All kinds of just really kind of dumb things, but it was free and it was meaningful, and have become some of our favorite memories.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting when you're saying that. Actually, I kept perusing the all-knowing Google, and it has a Reddit thread that I had to click that I was over 18 because apparently it's going to get racy in here. I guess it was like best Valentine's Day you've ever had, asking women, and the answers here are kind of consistently. Like some people have said, I've never had a good Valentine's Day, or I've never been in a relationship on Valentine's Day. That one's too much. One couple went and saw Deadpool.
Oh, jeez. That was their best Valentine's Day, huh?
I guess. But like some of them are fancy. One person said we had drinks at the Mandarin Oriental in Tokyo, and then spent a gorgeous suite in the Tokyo Station Hotel. And then it's like, oh, okay. But some of them say things like, we went to the grocery store and picked up fancy food that we would never buy normally, and we just went and hung out in bed and watched movies and ate it. Or like one person said they didn't watch movies. They went and got food, like a fancy cheese platter, and then we watched basketball together.
Yeah.
Or this person says sushi and snow hike. Somebody else said we went and I can't remember what the first part was, and then we went and got Popeyes. And most people actually say, I don't like crowds and I don't like going out. So what's funny is the idea of like thinking that we're going to have to go out and do something fancy. Now, to me, I think, yeah, that's a good idea to do on a different night. But if you're trying to be romantic, I feel like if you go out to a crowded restaurant, that's not going to feel romantic. So go do it on a night that's not that.
Which I do think, for the most part, yes, that's true. But I do think there are personalities where the fact that you took them to that restaurant, right, that's meaningful. And so even if you took me to that restaurant with 50 other people, you took me on Valentine's Day, and that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think that's one of those things you figure out during the conversation, right? Because sure, maybe to them, they want to say, I went out, not I stayed home, which is what I do every other night. And so, yeah, I think for the most part, though, I agree. I think no, most people's idea of romantic is not a crowded place.
It's pretty interesting to see these comments and to see how many of them kind of consistently say it wasn't like we went and did this really romantic thing. It's like we hung out together in a way that felt meaningful. And that's actually one of the reasons I want to do this topic, even though we've covered it a little bit before, is because I think we make the mistake of thinking meaningful actually in a much more existential way. I talked with a client earlier today about like what is meaningful in life, because they're in this space of feeling what, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? And if you go through Valentine's Day in a checkbox fashion, it becomes like it's viewed as a checkbox fashion, and it feels like, why are you doing this? As opposed to like, I just wanted to hang out. I don't really have any expectations for this. Like, it would be romantic. Sometimes it's just romantic to go do something. Like, even if, like if your normal thing is like, honestly, my anniversary is coming up we're going to be celebrating on the 6th. And so, because it's a long story about how it works out with clients and scheduling. And
Isn't the
so
6th
the 6th is a Tuesday. It has to do with Mondays I've had off, because the 5th is my actual anniversary. And how many times can I take off on the same clients? So we're doing it on a Tuesday. And my kids are like, oh, what are you guys going to do, like, for your anniversary? Ooh. And Becky goes, what we love to do. And they're like, what? And they're like, we go get Taco Bell and we hang out and watch a movie. It's always Taco Bell. It's like, it is my favorite thing to do. And we just sit and watch some movie. Like the last time we did this wasn't for Valentine's Day, or for our anniversary, but we watched the Barbie movie. Or one time we watched Solo. Like, remember that, how it was going to be a whole thing, and then the guy turned out to be not a good Han Solo, which I didn't think he was bad.
He wasn't bad.
Everyone's like, he's a bad actor. I'm like, Harrison Ford when he was Han Solo was a bad actor.
Yeah, but he's
better
charismatic.
Now.
Yeah, but he was super charismatic.
Yeah.
You wanted to watch that guy on screen. I didn't care about
who's scruffy looking.
Yeah, the dude who played the new Solo totally got upstaged by Donald Glover.
Oh yeah. Well, who doesn't get upstaged by Donald Glover?
Holy crap! I thought, well, where's the movie about him? I just want to see that. One?
So
yes, in theory.
Here's my kind of pro tip, and you can give your pro tip, because I was gonna say, look, for Valentine's Day, just think of something that you think would be fun to do with your partner or spouse, and plan it and do it. Like, romantic doesn't have to be candlelight and walking along the lake or whatever. Romantic could be working out together, or we went and volunteered together, because romantic means we tried to invest in each other and tried to create feelings with each other. But I do want to say a little more than just saying, do what you think would be fun to do with your spouse. Because if you're just like, well, my favorite thing to do is to go bowling, and she hates that, but I love it. So we're going bowling, like, I think that maybe the addition is, try to think of something fun that would be different than what you've done before. You can do the same thing. There's nothing wrong with, like I said,
tradition's great.
We get Taco Bell and movies, and we love it. But for some people, and for me even, sometimes it's like, let's go do this thing, because why not? Like, recently my wife and I went for the weekend just to Fredericksburg, during Christmas, because it's a cool town to go to during Christmas. And I specifically wanted like an unusual Airbnb. But I'm also cheap. So like, I wanted to get like a treehouse one. They make those, but those are like sometimes like $1,000 a night, where it's like, wait, what? So instead it's on this guy's property. He owns an olive oil company. You drive past his house, and then you go stay in his little Airstream. And he had a little hot tub out there, and you're kind of off by yourself right in front of his olive oil or his olive orchard. And it was cool. Like, it was weird. Like, the bathroom was teeny and the shower was ridiculous. Like, I kept making jokes. Like, honestly, if I moved wrong, I was like opening the door with my elbow. But I'd be like, hey, Becky, you want to get in here? And she's like, are you serious? I was like, no, I'm not serious. I can't fit me in here. But
it's like my current shower.
But to me, I think it was cool. It was like a memory. Or one time years ago, we went to Leavenworth, around for our 40 kind of joint 40th birthdays, in outside of Seattle. It's
Mm-hmm.
over the mountains, and it's a little German town. And we took the train from Seattle over, and it was like, Amtrak's aren't glamorous. They're certainly not like we didn't get our own private room, so it wasn't like
Right.
romantic in that
You're
sense.
just sitting there with
Right,
however
random
many other
strangers.
people are going to
But it was
Leavenworth.
yeah, it was romantic in the sense that like we're going off and doing this weird thing we've never done before.
Yeah.
So it was kind of fun and kind of like a unique experience I'm sharing with you. So my
Mm-hmm.
advice is to like think of something fun that would feel different. It doesn't have to cost a bunch of money. Even if you said, "Hey, let's make Valentine's cookies together," because you love Valentine's cookies. The good part would be you're making cookies together, and it
Right.
doesn't
That
there
they
has
happen to be heart shaped is
right,
okay.
and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have there doesn't need to be any expectation of anything that's going to come from this, other than I want to have a different kind of experience with you. So do that. What's your pro tip? Did you
Well,
already give it?
no. So the first thing I would say is, and it goes back to what you were just saying, right? Do these things without an expectation, right? If there's that quote from, I can't remember who said it, that we can't not communicate.
Yeah.
Everything we do is communicate, which means, spacemen, if you're doing everything in order to have sex with your wife that night, yeah, she's gonna know.
It's going to be communicated.
It's gonna be communicated, and that might not work out for you well, right?
Right.
And so, like, sure, if your wife is one who thinks, nope, Valentine's Day is the day we have sex, okay, great, then go ahead and keep that as a focal point for your night. That's fine.
It doesn't have to be a focal point. If she's assuming that it's like, well, it's going to happen, then enjoy
Right,
everything else.
right. But like, then it's okay, right? You can call everything else foreplay if you want. But know that, like, if that's not what it is for your wife and that's what you try to make it, no, she's going to pick up on that.
Right. And that seems very insincere.
Yep. Everything you do is going to be like, well, you're just doing this so that you get lucky tonight. Even if that's not true. And that's the thing. There's I've run in, I'm sure you have too, with couples where, as you're trying to kind of redefine for them, right, to help them kind of look at sex in a different way, and the woman's like, I mean, he says he's okay with it, but then I don't think he's okay with it. And I think, okay, well, trust him, I guess. Like, if he's telling you it's okay that this doesn't end in sex, then
Right.
trust him that it's okay. If it's not
Yeah.
okay, that's his problem to work out. That's not your problem to work out. It's his. So that's, I guess, pro tip number one. Like, no, because there is such a sexual aspect, I think, tied to, particularly couples for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Know kind of where your partner's at before you get into the day, so that you're not trying to gear everything towards that, because it'll be a miss. The other thing I was going to say, right, is it kind of goes along the same lines, and I guess I'm just echoing what you said, right? Know your spouse. Don't like Jenner loves to bake, and got really into making sourdough bread from a starter. I guess it's a whole thing.
Nerd.
Right? Jeez.
It's delicious, though.
Oh, I love it. And every time she would make it, she would talk about, I wish I had a cast iron pot for this, because apparently that's the better way to do it. And so for Valentine's one year, I bought her a cast iron pot. Anyone else would be like,
Typical male.
right, you bought her kitchen stuff? Well, yeah, it was kitchen stuff, but I also know my wife, and I knew, like, this is something she's been looking at getting for a long time and just never quite justifies it.
Mm-hmm.
So I justified it by calling it a Valentine's Day gift, right? Now, typically Valentine's Day gifts are like $10, but this was, I was like, no, I'm doing it. Like, right. And again, it went back to that idea of, like, for me, it felt romantic. It felt romantic to get her something that I knew she had wanted for a long time, that I knew she was struggling to justify buying for herself. And so I just did it. I was like, yeah, and it helped me shift my day. I was very excited to give it to her. Right. That's very different than thinking. Oh, I've heard my wife talk about learning how to do sourdough bread from a start. I'm going to go ahead and get her this thing. Like, no, that's going to communicate something different, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, there's effort there. Well, but you've talked about it. Well, yeah, but I don't even have starter to do this with. Like, right? Like, I think, yeah, you'll get points for the effort, but know your wife. Which really means have conversations.
Well,
Don't assume things.
but I also think really, and this is why, when I say like, this is about having a shared experience with each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about stacking or accruing points.
Right.
Because that sounds like Valentine's Day for women and men have to perform.
Yeah.
But if you're saying, I just want to have an experience with you that feels good and connecting for both of us.
Yeah.
Great. Now, we just saved your Valentine's Day.
Yep.
Spacemen everywhere will thank us. In their hearts, in the Spaceman salute. I just made the Spaceman salute for those who didn't.
Did you hit your head first?
Yeah, it's obvious, Mike. It's because I'm a moron. Right, here I go. Like that. That's the salute of Spacemen. So I'll describe it for those listening. You slap yourself on the head and your hand kind of stumbles afterwards. And then you do like a swooping motion from your head down towards your chest, then back up into the sky as a spaceman would launch himself into the sky. So spacemen everywhere, I salute you. And good luck in your Valentine's Day efforts. Catch us next time on the Manspace. She is beauty. She is grace. She is Miss United States. I salute you. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Please remember to
rate and review.
Please, we desperately need it.